a very important because I think we are into a very important
our partners in the new year. There are two powers associated with representation: the authority to decide and the authority to have a say of how decisions are made. We have recognized as a party that the people are yet to give us the authority to decide. That is why this party does not hold the office of president and does not have the majority in the National Assembly. But with the few people we have the authority to have a say. And no one doubts that Pdois is exercising that authority to its fullest extent. So that your concerns are known to the powers that be, and how they are to be addressed are known to the powers that be. We are now moving to the third phase of our electoral cycle. It's a key thing. It is important for the Gambian people to be fully prepared for that phase. The Central Committee of the party has charged the Secretary General to be holding this periodic press conference in order to convey what it has to the Gambian. We are opening up a national conversation. And this conversation will continue unabated until every single Gambian is conscious that one is sovereign and one is an embodiment of sovereign authority and power. That power to be the supreme lawmaker of the land by virtue of the authority to approve the constitution of the land. That power to determine who becomes the executive and those who are to be in the National Assembly to carry out the responsibility of providing services to our people and making laws on behalf of ours. There is a macro perspective of the state, and they call it central government. There is also a micro perspective of the state, and they call it local government. The country is supposed to be divided into local government areas. And under the Local Government Act, They comprise three areas. Number one, region. Number two, cities. Number three, municipalities. And the regions have area council. Cities and municipalities will have mayors and councils. And you are empowered by the Local Government Act to elect the councillors, mayors, chairpersons. Under the Act, councils should exist for 4 years. But it was included in the Act that local government elections should not be held except for the circumstances where it will be 1 year after National Assembly. Consequently, the councils have not ordinarily stayed only for 4 years. But the councils under the Local Government Act had the authority to stay up to a time when it is 3 months before an election. Then they will start the result. And the president then had authority to appoint management committee to preside over the council until the first sitting of the next following council. That has been abrogated by the Supreme Court. That we should have councils that are autonomous and that are democratically elected. That is now established. But then, what happened to the council? When you separate mayoral election, chairperson election with the other council election, the councils will continue to exist. The law is yet to be fully clear as to its resolution after the Supreme Court. And we are holding these two elections at different times. It is the governors who should indicate the first meeting of the council after election, and the chief executive officer for the municipality and the city council. So essentially, after the council election, the mayoral chairperson election will take place in May. What do you do in May that year? And this is why it is important for a state to be led in a manner that has clarity. Because when you spoke about the rule of law, the law should lead. But the law should be clear. And it should be vocal. It should be crystal. It should be clear. So there is definitely need for local government reform. And you should cast your mind 2016, when the change occurred. The purpose of the change was to have a transition where within 3 years we'll engage the population, engage the administration, engage all elements in our society to be able to look at our constitution, our laws, our institutions, our administrative and managerial practices to make them fit for a new republic, a republic where the conscious government people will be done justice. Now we are engaged in half-hearted measures that we call reform, and the courts are intervening to guide the process so that laws and constitutions will be conserved will speak the same language. So as we move to this local government, it is important for the Gambian people to know that finally they are the ones who have the authority to decide who manages the affairs. What we call local government, the micro-state, is not an ordinance. It is bringing the state to the level of the people, to make it community-based, to work to complement the national base of the state. Pdois is guided by clarity. We are conscious of the fact that the purpose of creating the micro level of the state, the community-based aspect of the state, is to ensure that the laws of balanced and proportionate development of society is adhered to. Unless you adhere to such a law, there will be imbalance between rural and urban, imbalance in our communities, and therefore thrift to certain communities are likely to happen. Yet you will not be able to address the problem of poverty. So the purpose of creating local structure is to ensure that the local structures will guide the process of development, independent and balanced, disproportionate. That is the point. An attempt is made in the Local Government Act as well as its Financial Audit Act to try to create a sort of a balance. Fundamentally, it states very clearly that 60% of what is collected by the council should be used on development. But then that is not enough. Most states, most councils will be unequal in their earnings. So therefore, in the law, it says that there should be 4 areas of intervention of the macro level. Number 1, it can't give what is called equalization grant. It must examine the council and look at their earning capacity and provide grant to create some element of a balance. Number 2, if it sees that it can give the council certain responsibilities to run what used to be operated by the central government, it can go up to 10% that it gives them for the operation of those things. It can go further to engage in granting aid where it works with the council on certain projects and provide funds for those projects to be implemented in a particular country. But under Section 128 of the Local Government Act, it talks about providing the funds that may be necessary, 25% to supplement the development budget of the country. So unless the council sit down and examine their budget and allocate their 60%, quantify it properly, and submit that prior to the budgeting of the government, it means that it will not be able to get the 25% that it needs, because the 25% would have to be allocated by the nationals. So essentially, we are talking about councils becoming very efficient in understanding the law and how to implement the law. So all councils should therefore have some form of legal aid where there is specialization on the act and how they can derive maximum benefit from the act. Because the council will have sources of money. They are likely to have possibilities of royalty. How do you calculate? How do you fold? They are likely to have investment. Where do you invest? How do you generate resources for the country? So there are many possibilities for the country to be able to generate resources. And what are those resources meant for? We have realized from the very inception of this party, under the First Republic, that the policies on councils were misplaced. Because the objective of ensuring that the people take part in development was not fully completed. What is the goal? When the local government reform program was initiated, giving rise to the local government act, you will see there the creation of village development committees everywhere, ward development committees everywhere. But you have these village development committees, ward development committees, but they do not have budgets to be able to bring about development. So you have a village. It has a village development committee. How will you bring our development without the financial, material, and human resources necessary? There can be no development in any institution without financial, without material, and without human resources. All these developmental units they have set up lack all these three basic ingredients. So that is why we are saying that they articulated the process, but they did not know its object, and therefore could not give it what it requires to bring about the development that was necessary at the local level. That is why they failed. You create this unit. You deprive the unit of this. After you succeed. Since the macro aspect of the state is designed to operate like a state, the local government authorities have the authority to make laws, and also to raise revenue, just like the macro level. They are very powerful. But from the beginning, they were deprived of that power, and that deprivation continued to increase rather than decrease. If the councils at that level were to bring about any development, and they were supposed to be the architects of community development, and you can even see the local government attempts to link them to community development experts. So that the community development unit that was established way in the First Republic and given areas of specialization could have been the tool that would provide the human resources necessary to aid the country in their developmental objectives. But from the very inception of the country, they lost their bearing. What should have been the bearing? If you are to manage the affairs of a unit, you must know the resources available. And each council should have done cadastral mapping to understand the topography that it was taking charge of. The number of schools and where they are located, hospitals where they are available. If nothing is available, nothing is available. What is available would be known. You look at the environment to see where your space is, land space. Places where you have water. Places where during the rain, water will empty itself. So there was need to study the environment so that the wetlands would be properly identified in order to identify your natural resources, where farming can take place, where aquaculture can take place, where productive work can take place. You need to identify all this. And you look at the population who are engaged in all these activities and see how you link them to those various activities. And then when it comes to drainage, you will able to know how the water is likely to empty itself into a wetland of one sort or another. But our experience here is that no cadastral mapping took place. Every place was utilized helter-skelter. Consequently, they saw development emerging that was unplanned. You have proper sewage facilities, proper drainage facilities, road facilities, where you should have urinals to take care of those who are outside, markets, industrial areas, agricultural areas. Nothing was demarcated properly. And those ones that were identified were abused. Because by the end of the First Republic, you can hardly go into municipalities and cities and find a space where you can bring about other forms of life. You will not have sidewalks because the roads are very much congested. You can have proper drainage, the same. Places where there should have been possibility of drainage had already been taken over by residential areas. So everything was broken. The land gone. That is why you go to municipalities like KM, you will not find supporting ground for children in many of these places. Nothing was flat. They go into school buildings to have their recreation and disrupt the classes. And then they will complain. They will bring in the police, mix the police with the community. Is that going to bring about any form of development? No. Because the mistake has been made and nothing is done to remedy. It's the same thing with housing. There's congestion everywhere in the urban area. And when heads of family die because of the smallness of the compound, they sell it and move to other areas. It is transformed into commercial centers. So you evict people and you are encouraging commerce. But who will buy? Who will buy the unit? Should be the people. So essentially, this is the developmental trajectory that the country entered into in the First Republic, went into the Second Republic, no change. And you hear people try to make comparison. Second Republic compared to what is happening now, or it's like this, First Republic is like this. But then what is strange is that you come to certain communities in the regions and the municipalities, you walk the pathway, and what do you see? Potholes everywhere, pools of water everywhere, no development. And you are still comparing which one is better. First Republic is better than the second is better than the first, half-third Republic is better than the Second Republic. Where is the better? You are walking on the same road, having the same drainage problem, lacking all the facilities, sporting facilities, sidewalks, anything that we call civilization. And you are still trapped into what is better, rather than shaping a destiny, a future fit for us to live in. That is the trajectory that you must conceptualize right now and start the process of unrolling it. Even if you can address it now, start unrolling it. And you unroll it based on the people you elect. You may give them the power to decide, and they have authority to implement their policy. But what we can say to the Gambian population, we have never been given the authority to decide. Then don't ask us about development. Don't tell us that others, before they come to power, they are showing what they can do by building boreholes there based on the charity that they receive from someone. Putting something there which they receive maybe from a state fund. Don't tell us that that is an example of what will take the poverty that is crushing our people from their debts. We will emphasize to you that those who continue to claim that the reason why DOI has not been entrusted with responsibility is because DOI has refused to change its politics. And the politics it should change is that it should adopt the politics of people. Because we have not seen what Petronet has done to eradicate the poverty of the people. And in this small room where you, the media houses, are, challenging by showing me a single politician who daily take $100 to give it to 100 people consistently for a month. $100 to 100 people for a day, for a month. We're talking about $300,000. Where is the politician who sits in his home and gives you $300,000 every day and distribute it among 100 people? We're not talking about 1,000 people. We're not talking about 10,000, 100,000. We're not talking about a million people. We're just saying 100 people. Where are they? And for a year, 3.6 million. Where is the politician? Who is being bribed? So these are what we call misconceptions that those who want to put the people to sleep continue to put in their heads. And unless those misconceptions are dismissed, we'll continue to wallow in ignorance. And ignorance will lead us to be champions from the cradle to the grave. Live and die in poverty from the cradle to the grave. So we call this press conference for people to understand that Pdois is engaged in a journey towards what we want Gambia to be. A country where our people are sovereign, where the wealth that they own will come back to them and freedom from poverty, where the people they elect will make laws to free them from injustice, where we must ensure that education comes back to the people and the ignorance that has been put as a weapon in our country from forced republic. That must come to an end. And we believe that if we start the process of giving us the power to have a say, you don't have the power to decide, but you can give the power to have a say by putting the Pdois councillors in office. We'll guide them. We now have more time to guide them. We hear that Halifa is leaving politics. Yes, let's see when the Congress comes until they say he is no longer Secretary General. You will see whether he will be leaving politics. We have more time to educate. More time to educate, so that we become the architects of our destiny. That's how we started the process. Know yourself, know your country, know the world, then you'll be the architects of your own destiny. Know yourself, know your country, know the world. You will not be a chattel to any human being of the face of the earth. That is the dignity that Prophet talks about, the self-esteem of the Torah. That is what we wanted to implant, and until we go to our graves, we will try to implant it. So you will see it's coming out. What you will show in citizens. Read them. To own yourself. To conclude, when you elect people to control councils, you are giving them the power to decide. If you don't see what you want, ask them. They are responsible. If you elect people without giving them the power to decide, you're giving them the power to have a say. Ask them what they have been saying on your behalf. Then you decide. What we can assure you is that the Pdois community is growing. The clarity of our people is increasing. Their commitment is increasing. We do not measure the future by looking at the past. We learn from the past to build the future. We can assure you that Pdois rejuvenated is on the way. And in fact, after this country election, we will have greater power to guide a nation that needs to take charge of its destiny.
I'm really going to thank you, guys. You have any questions to ask or repeat?
present the Alcamba Times. Honorable, thank you very much for taking us through, the importance of this final cycle of the election, our election cycle. I would like to know here, how prepared Pdois is towards this election, and whether you are going to contest all the chairmanship and the mayoral elections coming in the country, like the mayors and the chairmans, whether you are going to file candidates to contest, looking at the importance of this election to the grassroots, to the people who live in the grassroots. And also, I would also like to know your impression, of the performance of the councillors and the mayors so far, the outgoing ones, for that matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the question, very relevant. It is important for all of you to see the fundamental difference between Joy and maybe other people. We are operating on the basis of two principles. One principle is the principle of ensuring that the people, the members, decide, just like the citizens of the country decide who becomes their president, their national assembly member. In Joy, the members decide who will stand. And when they meet in their community, if it is councillor, national assembly member in the constituency, the whole nation, president, and they decide, the central committee can only ask technical questions. That is, if there are queries by others and you need real clarification whether the decision was harmonious or an election took place to select and it was fair, those are the technical issues that the Central Committee would raise in order for the members to look at an issue. And when they come to a decision, the decision is accepted. So it is difficult for us to say right away, these are the areas where they will put mayoral, mayors, council, chairperson seats. We cannot answer that question. So we have separated two elections, and we will be waiting to see what the members say. And once we know, we'll convey it to you. We are definitely not leading from the front. They are leading from the line, as far as this matter is concerned. All we do is the line. Number two, you will see that in the council election, the age variation is becoming very distinct. And many young people are offering themselves for representation. And we hope that they will learn from this to grow more and more to know exactly what it means to represent the people. And we are confident that that policy of Joy, of separating the state from the past, where we prepare people, whoever they may be, for state responsibilities. And we create possibilities for anybody to contest for seat, will actually create a new democratic atmosphere in our country. In the past, people were talking about how can young people participate in Joy activities and be seen? How can women participate in Joy activities and be seen? all of a sudden they realize that as far as the party is concerned, it is training leaders. When you become a member of the party, you are just simply being trained to become a leader. Leader in your community, leader in a country, a person of service. But no status is attached to being a member of the Central Committee or being a Secretary General. Nothing is attached. Because it does not guarantee you that you will be a presidential candidate, you will be a National Assembly candidate, or you will be a chair or mayoral candidate. Because all those are determined by the member states. Because you are being prepared so that once you assume state responsibility, you know that the party prepared you to serve the Gambian people, and they will judge you by your party. Thank you for that question.
What's your opinion about that?
Yes, we have two issues there. There is no doubt that Section 26 of the Constitution emphasizes that everybody has the right to elect or be elected to public office, to stand for public office. But if Section 170 imposes that unless you are given leave of absence for 1 year without pay, you cannot stand, how many people would be able to do such a thing? And of course, it has affected two candidates of blame who were very promising as far as the report we received is concerned. But when it came to the final phase, that they have the right to resign, then they felt that, well, that was too much for us. And there are many people who are now in the public service who are competent, but who may not consider public office of that nature by virtue of an electoral nature, by virtue of that nature. Obviously, the law should be revoked, amended. But why am I hesitating amendment? Because that was not our objective. It's not piecemeal amendment of all this law, which we have already identified over the years to be against the principle that we stand for, the democratic principle of freeing the person to represent his or her people. And if you look at Section 130 of the Elections Act, which was a decree, it was election decree, and it is saying then that if you are intending to stand for election, you will be given leave during the period of the election with pay, and you have a right to return. Because when we were drafting the elections decree, those who were in power were not really involved. They were engaged in the contest of doing something that was seen to be better than the people that they have removed from power. So they were not very vigilant. So consequently, be that election decree, which is still your Elections Act, and you see, yes, and you see the content, the powers it gave for people to be able to participate in it. In fact, the code, which was a subsidiary legislation in August 1996, still the code, elections code, had all the areas that were of concern. Patronage was criminalized. Intimidation criminalized. Coercion, which is intimidation, criminalized. Giving gifts the same. So the law really encapsulated everything that was criticized in the past, including the creation of an independent electoral commission. We did not have an independent electoral commission. Joy was fighting for that to happen. And in the memorandum we wrote to the Electoral Review Committee, led by Sadio Sonko. How many of you know Sadio Sonko? Nobody knows Sadio Sonko. Is Sadio still there? No. Because anything could happen. That's how many years ago? 1996. 27 years ago. He was the head of that committee. And we drafted the election decree, taking memorandum from all those who were concerned in order to craft a document that was still used until today. And that's what we used to remove the head of state who was here. But some do not want the people to understand what the democratic forces did at that time. But we will explain it. It will not be hidden. When those were active, combating, building, now they want to put all that under the carpet. It will not be there. It will unearth everything. We'll know what happened, how hard people work to turn events and put the country back into the hands of hard people. So that is the reality. I hope that we cannot talk about amendment. We need a new constitution, a constitution of the Third Republic. That's what was promised. I hear people, you were in the National Assembly. Why didn't you change order? Who want to change laws piecemeal? When we agreed 3 years, we changed the constitution of the land. And you are not asking those people why they have not acted in accordance with what they agreed. Then you would not have been having the type of constitution you have or the help of anything that you see today. But that is the reality. So we can either change it piecemeal or we change it by coming up with the constitution of the land. And we hope that will be, because that's really what we want.
Chairman's elections. The first question is about the tension in Senegal. What is the political tension in Senegal? I'm not sure whether I can ask that question.
Chair, really the purpose of the...
What is happening in Senegal is not hidden. It's known to everybody. We are following events, and I'm sure Uncle Hanifa is following what is happening in Senegal as well. There has been calls, especially from senior politicians in Senegal, calling on Senegal's friends and neighbors, to come out and talk to the Senegalese government and the opposition to end the tensions in Senegal. Gambia, in particular, has been quiet, be it the government, the opposition. We have not had any public statement or solidarity statement about the tensions in Senegal. Uncle Halifa, what do you think the role of the opposition, civil society, and the government should be in this regard?
Very mature treaty. Because when they congregate, the problem widens to the wider space. We've gone through an impasse. And you can see how the impasse was handled. I don't think you've heard us calling on opposition parties in any part of the world to come to our state. Did you? Well, we had to look at the problem for two. One, our internal situation, and the other, the issue of international politics, which is this thing. So it is important for us to help all those people who are engaged in political work on the continent elsewhere to be able to take charge of situation, guide situation, so that the logical conclusion will be to end conflict and allow the people to take charge of their healthcare process. What can happen and what anybody in the opposition would be willing to do is to mediate. But mediation, you do not just get up and go and mediate. First, you must be accepted by those who have a country. They must be ready to listen to. And then you begin to work on what the differences are and how to narrow it to the point of ultimately guiding them to accept, to live in peace. I believe that there are competent people who are most willing to do that. But I believe fundamentally the government is responsible for what happens in the Gambia today and is capable of engaging in international relations. Nothing prevents the government from getting in touch with the government of Senegal to indicate that it wants to send group from the Gambia to really help to look into their problem and see how we can assist. If that is done, and I'm sure any member of PRAY is asked to be part of such a delegation or any other party I will be, people will be proud to go to Lima. So I hope that offer will be there in the public space, and that is the way to go. But denouncing and talking, at the end of the day, you are not helping. In fact, you are clouding the atmosphere. We would not have wanted that to happen anyway. What we would have preferred is to be in charge, and if there is going to be external activity, it must be a ECOWAS activity that's powerful. It must be a UN activity that's powerful. These are international bodies established to deal with international peace and security, or continental peace and security, or sub-regional peace and security.
From seeking political office, but we have not seen any concrete moves in the Pdois in changing its leadership to reposition their next heir to the throne. When do we see Halifa move into the background to give way to a new, younger face of the Pdois?
Well, thank you very much.
I was in that. Nobody asked me to move in the background. I was the coalition spokesperson and the spokesperson of the President of the Republic. Nobody asked me to move in the background. So there is no need for anybody to move in the background. You cannot do that anyway. You see, when people make contributions, it has to be recognized whether you like it or not. And whether you want to be there in the public space, you will be there. Nelson Mandela was in the public space, even now he's still in the public space. So don't think about moving people out of public space. Number two, I'm not sitting on a throne. I am suffering. I have suffered for how many years? And so, and when I mean that suffering is, what is the gain of doing this speaking? Have you followed our history? We see the, I think we look at this like a rising history. But, we've gone into the countryside. We have slept on grass mattresses. We've been bitten by bed bugs. The worst condition that the people have, we have slept there. We've traveled with buses. We have traveled with donkey carts. We didn't have money at the beginning. We went into the countryside, and people used to say, these people do not want power. We go to Bantabas and speak to the people, and knowing that they will not elect us to office at that time. Why did we take all that task to be here today? We did not do so to be on a throne. We did so to be able to eradicate the poverty of our people. The term that I use now, born in poverty, it originated from Wuli. We went to the Bantaba Mini and Syria. And he was speaking. A person who is a deer, a farmer, came from the farm and he was washing. And when he came, he listened, Syria spoke brilliantly in the language of the people. Those who say that they speak about it. The people understood the language better because we spoke the language better than many people. I would not say better than people. They understood the language. And after Syria finished, he came and they greeted, and he was laughing. But you can see the clothes were torn, tattered, barefoot, feet chapped, hands calloused. You cannot say that we were the same input as Syria. No. Because what poverty had brought him. And he said, Syria, hey, ite keno na man sa tigi ni man jawara manonat. Where jawara manonat? That time they used to call this Tusma, they would give this, and he was joking. I was looking at this man from top to bottom, and he did not understand that my heart was broken. What he said, huh? So you're looking at me? Huh? What I say is true. If it does not bring Jambal man in his language, then he thought that maybe I'm looking at him with scorn for what he was saying. For me, I was looking with sympathy and said, look at this man. This man was born in poverty. He is now living in poverty. He will grow old in poverty, and he will die in poverty, his children in poverty. I'm looking at this man with those eyes and that heart. But he thought that I was looking at him with scorn because of what he was saying to Syria. Where is he today? So we are not on a throne. But to tell you, the process is that a person occupies a position based on election of a Congress. In actual fact, I have a 4-year term, but I have another duty. If I stand for election, and I stated everything that was clear in my heart, and the people heard, and they tell me that you're a cabinet one. Guy yep dañ dawon yow rek fi nekkon fuñ dem rek guy yep dawon yow rek fi nekkon mo be ko tay te don everywhere, nowhere in the Gambia have we went where we have gone where they did not actually indicate something of it, which means that Halifa Sallah is known everywhere in the Gambia, contrary to what we used to say in the past, that they are not known. So if those people decide to give me 32,000 votes, fine. What am I going to be there for? To appear that this is a career? You will lose the essence of what I was fighting for. So I'm not going because of age. I am going because I don't want people to lose sight of what I was fighting for. And by going, my voice will be amplified and people will hear what I have said. That is the objective. So they will hold its congresses, they will select their leaders, but we know one thing, knowledge is not based on age or gender. There is no democracy in knowledge acquisition. You have to struggle to learn, to research. And those who can lead society out of poverty must have the knowledge to do so. But those who degrade knowledge, look at it with scope, will continue to be wretched of the earth. And that's why we are where we are talking now.
Yes. I mean, I wanted to ask because during the after the presidential election, the United Democratic Party raised some concerns involving non-Gambians participating in the election and even acquiring voters' cards. And after that, the National Assembly election, Pdois also made similar, complaints or remarks.
What is
regarding
similar?
okay. Let me say, Pdois also raised concerns regarding political patronage and others getting non-Gambians, including into the system.
No, political patronage.
Yeah, let me put that. Now that we are coming into the last phase of the political cycle, I want to know, whether you have any message for non-Gambians who want to improve the system, and also people who want to use money, to buy office. I want to know what advice you have for them, please.
Well, we'll be coming back to you with the code of ethics and electoral conduct. We'll be propagating it, and it will answer the issue of the vote. The issue of what you call outsiders interfering with what you call Gambian election is a very complex issue. Extremely complex. And your leaders are not interested in solving the problem. From the First Republic, Second Republic, until now. And when I say leaders, I'm putting you, all your political leaders are not interested in solving the problem. It's a blanket statement because we should debate on this issue. We started the debate in the First Republic, and the problem would have been ended a long time ago. Let me give you an example. There should be no country without proper registration of birth and death. In the First Republic, the 1965 Constitution, it stated that the Gambian citizen is one who is born in the Gambia with one of the parents born in the Gambia or naturalized. Then it goes further that you can be a Gambian citizen through marriage. And you can also be a Gambian citizen through naturalization. But in that constitution, it also says those people who were born in the Gambia prior to 18 February 1965, or parents who were not born in the Gambia, could go and be registered as a Gambian citizen. That was not communicated to those people who lived during that time. Suppose at that time that was communicated, and all those people got registered to be Gambian citizens in 1965. And then their parents naturalized to be Gambian citizens. And you have proper registration of birth and death. How can you have a problem of anybody infiltrating your system of birth? But the First Republic failed on that score. Then when the 1970 Constitution was coming into being, this is where you should have addressed the same thing by still having that provision so that people will be registered, who were born here will be registered by 1970, and their parents could have naturalized. That also did not happen. But they continued to give people national identity cards, voters cards, everything, and who will continue to be born in the country. We all know that if you're born in the United States, born in many of these places, you're considered a citizen. It is because how their laws evolve. If we had done that, then we will not be talking about this problem. That's why I'm saying we are all to blame in the sense that we should explain things clearly to the people. When we explain clearly to the people and explain to those people who could also naturalize, and all of us work together to ensure that those who have the qualification to naturalize will naturalize, then you can have a good, clear template. All those who have the qualification to naturalize will naturalize by a given time, and by their naturalization, their children will automatically also become Gambian citizens. And then it moves further and further, and we ensure that there is proper registration of birth, and then it will not be possible for us to have this problem. But the advice is that supporting anybody to come to power will not mean that that person will support you to be free from poverty. You will live under the same conditions that all the Gambians are living in. So that does not save you from any situation. And that does not save you also from being harassed here and there when they discover that you are actually a Gambian citizen. So of course the advice will be any wise African will know that we should move ahead in Africa to another level where the continent will be a home for all of us. But we've not reached there. But gradually constitutions can move towards that direction rather than engaging in real conflict among ourselves based on our national origin. That is not what you see the site in South Africa. Is that what we want in the Gambia? Of course, you don't want any of that in any African country where by virtue of the nationality of people, you harass them, brutalize them, and subject them to all sorts of complications. That's not what we should work for, but rather a national consensus of how to address this problem once and for all. For patronage, for coercion, well, it's against the law, it's criminal. It's criminal, pure and simple. And we'll do all we can to explain to the people what the codes are and why they are criminal in nature if you engage in coercion or bullying.
I want the issue of force reform and starting public to be explained, and to elaborate more on. It is that the Constitution varies, and that is why we talk about force reform and starting public. Because even the leaders, authorities, everybody is talking about the starting public. So I really want, because it affects both local, parliamentary, and presidential elections. So I just want more experience for people to know, more about the court and what are we still in the court?
You know, we had the 1970 Constitution. And on the 22nd of July, 1994, they suspended that Constitution and banned all political parties and disbanded the Parliament, the House of Representatives, and the Executive. Effectively, the coup succeeded. by coming up with decree number 1, which became a law. So once decree number 1 was promulgated, they put the constitution to be under the supremacy of decree. So decree number 1 became the supreme law of the land. And all decisions were made based on it. All laws were made based on it. All these decrees made based on it. So that was the reality. So that's why it is seen that the constitution of the First Republic then was suspended. How do you bring it to life? Instead of bringing that constitution back to life, they established a constitutional review commission and charged it with the responsibility of looking at the content of the 1970 Constitution and come up with a draft constitution. And they prepared the draft constitution, and in 1996 it was subjected to a referendum. And once it was approved by the people, then it became a constitution. And that's why we talk about the Second Republic. Is that clear? Now, 2016 was not a coup d'etat. It was a change of government under the Constitution, because it's the Constitution that said that the person who sat as president will continue to serve until the end of his term. And we had to calculate the end of the term, and it was the 18th going to the 19th of that morning. And the 19th, of course, a new president was sworn in. Now, the swearing in of a president under that constitution does not mean that that constitution has been revoked. So the 1997 constitution still exists as the constitution supreme law of the land, unless we have another constitution to bring about a third republic. So there is really no third republic.
Let's move on to talk about that.
Yes, and I am withdrawing a statement I made half third republic, so it was just meant to. I'm sure the Central Committee will spoil it. This is not a forum. So that's high for linguistic things.
We need to take our constitution for everybody to hear and we need to talk about it at the so that we have start with you, not start with.
Yes, and we must be prepared for what the content is going to be, because we are yet to fully know what the content is. And I must say, and today, that we are announcing that in Banjul we have a very tough candidate who can strongly be seen to represent the voice of people living with disability. So we hope that ultimately Amadou Diallo would be fully supported, so that we begin the concept of inclusiveness. You can see the gender dimension. I think 6 women participating, and we had the whole card open for more. But we believe that once this one trail and succeed, we therefore will accept all this.